Hello and welcome back to the Fulhamish YouTube channel. My name is Don Betts, and on today's video we'll be looking ahead to Sunday's clash at Craven Cottage against Everton. And joining me today is Tom Clarke from the Toffee Blues Everton newsfeed. How you doing, mate?
Not bad. Not too bad. We've missed football obviously during the international break, but not missed Everton's dip in form. So yeah, not too bad. How about yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. I said, Fulham had that unfortunate result, of the whole Adam Lookman penalty situation away at West Ham, where we really should have got a result. Performance was obviously good, as we've spoken about on this channel, but obviously just didn't get the result we needed. But we start on Everton. Your season so far has been, you had a great start, but obviously a dip in form recently. Overall, what have you made of it so far under sort of the first full season under Ancelotti?
It was kind of momentum at the start, kept us going. I think upgrading the midfield really gave us a boost from having people like Tom Davis and out of form Gylfi Sigurdsson. I'm upgrading that straight away to Alan Abdoulaye Doucouré and James Rodriguez. You're going to get results straight away, and you're going to see results, and we did at the start of the season. For the first 5 games or so, we saw a marked improvement, but then after that, we just seemed to have completely dipped. It was the first international break. It seemed to dip in, and then we came back, played Liverpool, drew 2-2, and we were lucky to draw that game. It was that like VAR decision against Jordan Henderson, I think it was, and that really shouldn't have happened. We probably should have lost, and then we've lost every game since against Newcastle, Southampton, and then Manchester United as well. So obviously 2 games we were expecting to win, and then the Manchester United game was against an obviously out of form Manchester United. Who had a bad result that midweek in Europe, and it was 2 out of form teams against each other. It's just crazy how we've gone from a really good team at the top of the table to looking like really, really poor. So it's strange, but it's Everton. They get your hopes up and they let you down. We're used to it by now.
So if we're looking at Everton this season, what is the aim for Everton? Like obviously it's a sort of changed from the start of the season. Maybe people getting a bit too far, a bit similar to sort of Leicester last season, where they had a great start to the season and they stayed pretty much in the top 4 right until the end of the season. But going into the season, what was your aims? Was it just to start challenging at the top again?
Yeah, it was. I suppose the club's aim was to get into Europe again. We weren't able to do that at the end of last season, and I think that was the opportunity to do it. The Premier League wasn't necessarily at its strongest, and it seems now that I don't think we can break that top 6 really. It's not the established top 6 of old. You've got like the likes of Leicester and Wolves coming in now, and kicking up a fuss. But for the aim for Everton this season would be to qualify for Europe. But if we carry on this slump of form at the moment, we wouldn't get near it. So, but yeah, that is the aim to get into Europe again and bring back those European nights back to Goodison and push. Because really, if you got Carlo Ancelotti as your manager and you're not qualifying for the Europa League, there's something going wrong. So that's definitely the aim.
Do you think the signings that you made this summer have been a bit more? I don't know. They sort of made more sense than some of the signings have in recent seasons. I'd say signing the likes of Abdoulaye Doucouré, signing the likes of Alan James Rodriguez, as opposed to signing the likes of Alex Iwobi, for example. Do you feel like there was a bit more direction in your transfer window this year?
Yeah, definitely. I think we ran into money. Farhad Moshiri obviously come into to majority shareholdership of the club not long ago, a few years ago, and we got the recruitment all wrong. He wasted quite a lot of money over the first few years with stupid signings like Sandro Ramirez, who's still at the club just left actually. He was on £120,000 a week, and the likes of just Davy Clarkson, just players who just didn't make sense at all. And this season, we've got Marcel Brands as the director of football now, who seems to have brought some kind of more organisation to the signings, which was really needed. We previously had Steve Walsh, who was a head scout and not a director of football. So we shipped him out, brought in Marcel Brands, and this summer especially, it seems to be the pulling power of Carlo Ancelotti being able to bring in players that we definitely wouldn't have been able to previously. The likes of James Rodriguez, Alan, they wouldn't have come to Everton if Carlo Ancelotti wasn't there. So it's literally just a lot of it is down to the pulling power of Ancelotti, to be honest. Yeah.
So obviously everyone has spoken about James Rodriguez, about the influence he's brought in. Do you think one of the biggest things he's done is actually not just bringing his individual quality to the team, but raise everyone else's game?
Yeah, when you bring in a player like that, I suppose everyone else has to respond to that. If he's pulling off these ridiculous things in training and no one else is, it wouldn't be good. And obviously, it gives everyone a lift mentally as well to see people like that around you in the dressing room. It picks them up, and I think that was why we did so well at the start of the season. Just seeing those characters around the dressing room just really gave everyone a boost. A few of the players have said that themselves in interviews, but not that that's worn off, I don't think, but I think injuries have blighted us in recent weeks. We've had the likes of Seamus Coleman's being out, suspensions as well, to the likes of Luca Dean, Richarlison, which has really blighted us. But yeah, definitely having those characters around the dressing room does give the players a boost, and I hope that lasts longer than 5 weeks for the rest of the season, to be honest. You can see the quality. The likes of James, though, he's absolute class on the ball, but he doesn't really run. I think there's been several games this season where he's had 0 or 1 sprints in the whole game. So he doesn't do much tracking back, which pulls out the midfielders to do the tracking back for him. But his quality on the ball is unquestionable, and you need that in the team to just give everyone a lift, as you say.
Do you think anything, if we're talking about Calvert-Lewin, has changed? Because obviously last season, he was scoring goals last season, but not as prolifically this season. Do you think it is just a full pre-season, if you can call it a full pre-season, working under Carlo Ancelotti and with the likes of James Rodriguez behind him?
What it looks like is what Carlo Ancelotti and Calvert-Lewin themselves have said it was just simplifying his game. I think Calvert-Lewin was a striker who had a lot to his game apart from finishing, and that's obviously crucial for a striker. And Ancelotti seems to have just simplified everything for him and just says, stand in the middle of the box and kick it in the goal and you'll probably score. And just literally one-touch finishing kind of thing, because previously Calvert-Lewin was playing the channels too much. He was playing in and around the box more than in the box, really, and he wasn't actually getting on the end of chances enough. He was being pulled back because he wasn't getting much service and he wasn't getting into the box in front of goal enough. And now what he started doing is literally just standing in central positions to the goal, and it makes it much easier for him, simplifying his game rather than being pulled out and everything. He just literally stands between the centre backs and one-touch finishing as well, rather than complicating things. What he used to do was have a touch in the box and then obviously you get closed down and wouldn't have the space. But he's worked on his one-touch finishing, and that's been crucial to his game, and that's why he's been in this run of form. It literally just simplifying his game as a striker. Kick the ball in the goal is basically what's happened, and there you go, results.
So do you think everyone has spoken about Calvert-Lewin and James Rodriguez as these players are going to be key for any chances Everton have of pushing into the top 6 or even potentially into the top 4? But is there any other players in this team? Obviously, people speak about Richarlison, but further back in the team, either in your defence or defensive midfield area, that you think are as crucial to the side?
Yeah. Well, one of our weakest points this season has been Jordan Pickford's form in goal, which has been quite shaky. He's had a few mistakes, notably against Fleetwood and then the Premier League as well. He was recently dropped for the match against Newcastle when new loan signing Robin Olsen was brought in to replace him just for the one match. So, yeah, I think we obviously need further back, and I think the absence of Seamus Coleman has really showed in the team. He returned to form this season. He was quite shaky after for a couple of years after his leg break, but he seems to have hit form again this season, and losing him has been a bit of a blow. We've had a few injuries at centre back as well. Mason Holgate's been out, who became our main centre back last season, and obviously Luca Dean got suspended as well. So it's not being straightforward at the back, and that's crucial, really. We have been scoring a lot of goals, but crucially we have been conceding a lot of goals as well, and that's what's been pulling us down recently, and conceding silly goals as well. And that's where we need the players back. Where we need our first choice defence and an informed goalkeeper ideally. But we don't seem to have much problem with scoring goals. It's just defending at the moment, which we need to work on.
So with your recent sort of dip in form, would you say that's down to just individual lapses in concentration, as opposed to the overall team performances levels necessarily dropping?
It has dropped, definitely. Carlo Ancelotti's pointed at 2 individual defensive mistakes, but there's undoubtedly been a drop in the level of the team playing also. So it's not just a couple of individual mistakes, but I do think those have contributed to the bigger picture and meant there is a dip in form. But yeah, the team hasn't been playing as fluid as we've seen at the start of the season. At the start of the season, we saw even players who were out of form for a while, like Gylfi Sigurdsson, they were just contributing to slick attacking moves, one-touch football, which we've not seen at Everton for a long time because we haven't had that quality to be able to do that. And that's dwindled. The frequency of that we're doing that really has decreased in recent weeks. We're not having those slick attacking moves as much anymore, and I think that momentum, that early season momentum, has failed us a little bit, and it started to fall off, and it has been a dip in form, but it's individual mistakes as well, and it's not a good combination.
Do you think that this international break for you guys maybe came at a good time, just to allow you guys to sort of reset and then start again with now obviously a fluid section of football up until March with no international football now?
Potentially, yeah, if we can take advantage of that. I think it has been a bit of a choppy season with 2 international breaks coming quite quickly. The first one obviously coincided with our pretty much our coming out of form. We were in form up until the international break. It came at the wrong time, and we were out of form. So I just hope we can use this one to get back into form. I'm not sure if we can, but there's potential there. We're coming up against Fulham, and then we've got some tough defense, some tough fixtures in December. We've got, I think, the likes of Arsenal, Man City, and it's going to be a difficult game. So we really need to pick ourselves up after this break and use this to turn our form back around.
So going into this game, so what are you expecting, sort of Ancelotti to not necessarily change, but are you expecting a reaction to coming out of this international break against a team, against Fulham, obviously a team you'd be looking, with our start to the season, a team you guys were expecting to beat away from home. Obviously, we got that win against West Brom and played fairly well against West Ham, but you guys will definitely be looking to bounce back here, surely.
Yeah, we will hope to, I'm sure, but the form we're in at the moment, I wouldn't expect it. But obviously, with the international break coming, we could turn that around. And with some players coming back from suspension and coming back from injury as well, Luca Dean will be back. Richarlison, I think, has had 3 games. He might have one more. But we will have players back who weren't available in the last few games, and that has undoubtedly contributed to our demise in the last few games. So we will have those players back, and we'll hope to be able to bounce back properly. But Fulham in the last few weeks haven't been a pushover really. Obviously, you got the win against West Brom. Should have got a point last week if it weren't for our old boy Adam Lookman missing that silly penalty. But it's not going to be easy. We can't just come. Haven't lost our last 3 games. Come and expect where Everton we can steamroll Fulham, because it won't be like that. Obviously, with the players back, we will be expecting a result, but it's not going to be straightforward.
If Fulham were to, get the victory over Everton yourselves this weekend, what would Everton fans start to be thinking about this season? Were they thinking that, the start of the season was just an anomaly, or would they? And I'm not saying Ancelotti is going to be under pressure, but these players are going to be under pressure to sort of start showing the form they did at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I think any other manager would be under pressure after a few results in a row. Any manager's under pressure after 3 defeats in a row in football. But when it's Carlo Ancelotti at Everton, he gets privileges because of what he's done in the past, and the fact that he's, as a manager, he's a level above a lot of these players. So the blame gets put on the players rather than the manager, as we've seen. We've made the scapegoat of managers, I think, in recent seasons a little bit, even though they have been poor. But it's really down to the players now, and if we were to lose this one, everyone would be criticising the players, and it would really put it down on our season. Because, yeah, as I say, this is the chance we've had, the international break, to recover players, get them back from injury. The likes of John-Philippe Gbamin could even be back towards the end of this month. We've basically never seen. He's played 1.5 games for Everton in 2 years. We're starting to get players back, and if we can keep players fit and not suspended like they've been in recent weeks, we can hopefully return to the form we were in at the start of the season again. But this is our chance to do it. But if we were to lose this, it would really go downhill, especially with a tough December ahead of us.
Yeah, so it's sort of a similar way that Fulham are looking at this game, is because we've got a very tough run of fixtures now, playing the likes of yourselves, Leicester, Manchester City, Liverpool, and so Everton at home for us is really one of the games here where we're looking at getting a result, because it's a home fixture against not a team who last season were in the top 6. And for us, this is a game where we could be looking to get a result, especially if we didn't pick up results, for example, at home to Crystal Palace and away to West Ham. This is a game where we're looking at saying, well, if we are going to stay up this season, this is the kind of games where we need to, get a win or get a point to get something on the board, really. You're looking at Fulham's team. What areas of it sort of concern you the most?
The problems were quite public. The owner was saying he couldn't bring in a centre-back for a while. He was able to bring, I think he publicly said it was his 4th, 5th choice centre-back that he brought in the end, which is it's quite offensive on the players he did bring in the end. But I think that team's starting to play together better. And it's not a weak team. I do think there are a few Championship players in there. That's the unfortunate thing. And I think last time Fulham came to the Premier League, they did splash the cash. They brought in the likes of Sheila, Seri, Babel, and now they've come this time and gone for a slightly more conservative approach in the way that let's keep the team together, and it's bringing a few additions to try and up the quality, but not disturb it too much. And I do think that there are areas of the side that we can exploit, and hopefully that will be up front with Dominic Calvert-Lewin threatening the defence if we can. But obviously our defence is quite suspect ourselves, and I can certainly see Adam Lookman getting a goal. And you've obviously got other players in strong positions as well. We know the quality of Anthony Robinson at left back as well, and I do think you've got some quality players in there, even coming off the bench, the likes of Ruben Loftus-Cheek in there as well. So there are areas we will be looking to exploit, notably the defence. But there are areas of strength in there as well.
Do you think the likes of Anthony Robinson and Adam Lookman are going to kind of want to prove a point this weekend?
Yeah, especially Lookman. I think Robinson has a lot of respect for Everton, I still think. But at the same time, he obviously will want to prove a point because he didn't get his chance at the club. I think he should, personally. He should have done. He should have stayed. But we sold him to Wigan in the end, and then you guys have picked him up. But he'll be looking to prove a point. But no, mostly Adam Lookman, I think, because that didn't end on the best terms. He went out on loan to Leipzig when Ralph Rangnick was the manager, and he really enjoyed that. He got a good few chances, and then Rangnick moved position. I think he was promoted to head of sport at Red Bull operations, and then it was a different manager when Lookman returned. He didn't get the chances he needed, and it kind of all went wrong for him. And I think he's had a point to prove ever since. So this game, especially coming back to Everton, where he really wasn't happy with his playing time, is definitely it will be a point to prove for Lookman, especially, but obviously Robinson a little bit as well.
Yeah, and if we're looking obviously at our front line, you say your defensive problems. Do you think it's something that Fulham should be looking to exploit with the likes of Alexander Mitrovic up top?
Definitely, Mitrovic is always a handful for any defender, and especially when we've not got our first choice potentially available. I think Holgate's coming back. He looked a bit rusty last week, and Michael Keane made a couple of mistakes as well. Both centre backs made mistakes against Manchester United, and you can't really make many mistakes with a striker like Mitrovic, who's going to stretch it and he's going to be physical and be demanding of you. And I don't think our centre backs are in the best form, judging by the last game. Hopefully they can return to some form after the international break, but yeah, they will have a handful with Mitrovic, and whether they can actually respond to that, I'm not sure, to be honest. I do think it will be Mason Holgate and Michael Keane starting, but Mitrovic can get the better of either of them on his day.
Yeah, I think a battle in the game I'm sort of looking forward to is that everyone will be speaking about Calvert-Lewin, Mitrovic, Lookman, the attacking. But I think the midfield battle could be quite an interesting one because obviously you'd like to Decore, Alan, and obviously James Rodriguez in there. And then we've got, Anguissa, who's a powerhouse through the middle. I think he's a weird stat there. He's got one of the most dribbles for a centre midfield in the league just because he's driving through. And then whether we play Harrison Reed or Lamina with Kearney further forward, I think that's actually going to be a very interesting battle because both teams, I'm not saying they want to dominate and have 70% possession like Manchester City do, but they're both teams who like to have the ball, play it through the midfield and sort of attack. So I think it'll be quite interesting to see, how, Alan and Decore, and your central midfielders deal with Tom Kearney, who's been a lot better in the Premier League this season than he was last season. And he's another player with, a like Lookman, who's got a point to prove here, really, that, he wants to prove that he is a Premier League footballer. And so I think that'll be very interesting to see. We haven't spoke too much about, obviously, the midfield behind your attacking line. How have you been impressed with him so far this season? Yeah,
obviously that was the instant upgrade I was talking about earlier in terms of bringing in Alain Decore, James, in place of players like Tom Davies and Sigurdsson. Sigurdsson's obviously playing a role this season, but the upgrade in midfield has been the most notable thing about the Everton team, certainly in the start of the season. Alan suffered an injury. He was called up to the Brazil squad last week in place of the injured Fabinho, and he did suffer an injury, meaning he will be out of I think they've got a midweek game, I think tonight, possibly, or last night, and he was ruled out of that game. So whether he'll be fit for Fulham, I'm not quite sure, and that would be a big miss because he pretty much protects the back four. He gets on the ball and dictates the play as well. He's a really, really good quality player, and he would be a big miss because recent weeks we've seen the likes of Andre Gomez and Gylfi Sigurdsson playing together who are just too slow, and you'll have people like Anguissa just driving through them easily. So if Alan's fit, I do think that's a big thing for Fulham to take advantage of if he's unfit. But if he is there, not sure whether he's fully fit at the same time. So that's something to potentially look to take advantage of for Fulham. But I just hope to God he gets back fit, because he's such a massive part of that team. And obviously you've got players around him as well, like Toffee, who's really a powerhouse, like a bit like Anguissa in midfield. He's a proper powerhouse, and he's apart from misplacing a couple of passes, he's been on it this season. And I hope he'll be back in there as well. But yeah, it'll be a good matchup in midfield, as long as we can stop those forward runs from the likes of Tom Kearney and Anguissa. But yeah, it does depend on a lot whether Alan's fit to protect that back line.
So if we're looking at the team that Fulham could face on Sunday, what sort of team are you expecting Ancelotti to field? Like what sort of starting lineup are you expecting to see?
It'll be Pickford in goal. And then along the back, I'd say Holgate and Keane centre backs. Luca Dean will likely come back in at left back, with hopefully Seamus Coleman at right back. Now he's back fit again. I'm not too sure about Alan, but Ancelotti doesn't seem to have much problems with playing players who aren't fully fit. So I only think it's a slight problem. So I do think he'll start alongside Decore, and I'm not really sure about Andre Gomez, because he has been out of form. He was taken out of the team for a game, so maybe I think he'll be brought back in this game to try and get his form back together again. And then looking at the front three, it'll be obviously Dominic Calvert-Lewin. James Rodriguez, if he's back fit, I think he's been playing with Colombia this week, so he should be okay. And then out wide, I need to double check whether Richarlison is back from suspension, whether he's had his 3 games or not. Liverpool, so he has. He's had 3 games, so he should be back in for this one. So I would expect Richarlison to come back into the team and start on that left-hand side, which will give us a massive upgrade. So pretty much back to full strength for Everton, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I think it'll be a very, very interesting game between both sides. Obviously, you guys need to be bounced back on a poor run of form. We'll be looking to get straight back from our loss to West Ham. And I said in our run of form, this is probably the easier game. And we'll be looking to get, I think, but yes, it's going to be interesting because both teams are going to be definitely looking to get 3 points, especially with you guys. We both got tough runs of form, kind of like you guys are in bad form. We had that devastating loss at West Ham in the last minute and missed that penalty. But if you're going to put a score prediction on the game, Tom, what are you going to go with?
I do think there will be goals. Because obviously we're quite vulnerable at the back. So if I were to guess, I'd go with a 2-1 win for Everton. That's a hopeful one, but yeah, that's my prediction. What about you?
Yeah, no, I think it's quite similar to me going into the West Ham game. Really, like I'm semi confident that we can get a result, but I think with 2-1, I feel like the scoreline is most likely going to be 2-1, but it can go either way. I don't think it's necessarily a game where it's sort of how many can we stop Everton scoring because of your guys' poor run of form. So I'm fairly confident, and as you said, I think there will be goals. So I think I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw for this. I don't think we'll have quite enough to get the 3 points in this game, but I do think we have enough in us to get a point, and it'll be a very good point to get against a very good Everton side. But thank you very much, Tom, for coming on. Do you want to tell everyone where they can find you on social media and stuff?
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me on. I am obviously my personal Twitter handle is Tom Clarke 40, but I'm representing the Toffee Blues, and the handle is at Everton Newsfeed. So yeah, that's where you can find us if you fancy some Everton content.
Yeah, well, thanks very much, Tom. This has been the Fulhamish U channel. I've been Don Betts. Looking ahead to Sunday's game against Everton. It's going to be a good one. You Whites.